Hello, barn burners, barn busters. Good to have you with us on Red Barn Radio. I'm Bradford Becker. Tonight we continue in the 21st season of Red Barn Radio, and we welcome you to show number 818. Our guest this week is Rachel Baiman. With her 2017 debut album, Shame, Rachel composed songs about the American female experiences, songs that were both thoughtful and critical. Rachel has completed a couple more albums, or at least a bunch more music since then, and the most recent being her release from not even 3 months ago called Common Nation of Sorrow. Originally from the Oak Park suburb of Chicago, Rachel Baiman at 18 went to study at Vanderbilt and to play music and learn about how Nashville works. It worked for her, it seems, as she spent the last decade in steady demand as a musician in a wide variety of roles. For instance, Rachel has been called upon by the likes of artists like Molly Tuttle, who we just saw at Railbird, Kelsey Waldon, and Kacey Musgrades. Rachel is also engaged as a talented producer and arranger and has made her mark as a great singer and songwriter. Welcome Rachel Baiman to the Red Barn stage.
Time, so they lay before their children with stardust in their eyes, knowing all too well that through their days they will never see a time when the hands that keep them bent to knee fall prey to their own lies. But now some strange notion is taking a hold of us. It's a combination of sorrow. Hear the boots march through the dust when so much pain is intertwined. There are none who can tear it down. You cannot bury those already resting beneath the ground. Where the tears well up within us for the universal truth that our mothers loved us fiercely, though they knew not what to do. And with their love we look around, we would try to recognize what it takes to build foundations that will stand the test of time. And now some strange notion is taking a hold of us. It's a combination of sorrow. Hear the boots march through the dust when so much pain is intertwined. There are none who can tear it down. You cannot bury those already resting beneath the ground. Well, time goes marching on, yeah, the ghosts of the living past, but the dead will finally sleep so sweet when the people rise at last. And now some strange notion is taking a hold of us. It's a combination of sorrow. Hear the boots march through the dust when so much pain is intertwined. There are none who can tear it down. You cannot bury those already resting beneath the ground.
Good evening and welcome to Red Barn Radio. Wherever in the world you're listening, welcome to Roots Music Southern Style. Thanks to WEKU, Red Barn Radio's official radio partner, NPR for Central and Eastern Kentucky. Listen online at weku.org. Red Barn Radio is supported by Visit Lex, Lexington, Kentucky's Convention and Visitors Bureau. More information on what Lexington has to offer is at visitlex.com. LexArts, Lexington, Kentucky's premier cultural development, advocacy, and fundraising organization, working for the development of a strong and vibrant arts community as a means of enhancing the quality of life in Central Kentucky. Follow Red Barn Radio on Twitter and like us on Facebook. Here's the host of Red Barn Radio to tell us more about tonight's performers.
From the time she was a wee little person until her high school years, Rachel Baiman took music lessons with a teacher who taught her a range of ways she could play her chosen instrument, the violin. Her teacher urged her to listen and learn from others and also to compete in fiddle contests. Rachel really took to fiddle music. She made her mark in the bluegrass and old-time world for her work with the progressive acoustic duo 10-String Symphony and fiddle player Christian Settlemeyer. Rachel eventually embraced a longtime desire she had to write and produce more music of her own. In 2017, she released her first collection of songs, we mentioned before, on an album called Shame, produced by Andrew Marlin of Mandolin Orange. Shame was featured on NPR's Songs We Love and was called a rootsy wake-up call by world-famous Folk Alley. Rachel's new release, just out in March, is called Common Nation of Sorrow. We've caught her coming through Lexington, Kentucky on her tour supporting that album. Rachel Baiman has arrived tonight with some fellow players, Steve Hahn on bass and vocals and Zach Martin on drums. We bring you Rachel Baiman to Red Barn Radio.
Thank you so much. I've always been thirsty, and I drink like a fish. It holds me and warms me like a good woman's kiss. But I always know that someday I'd find I'd drunk on my chances and gone out with the tide. Now I've got a bad debt that I can't make good. Bad debt, just like I knew that I would. Bad debt, it won't let me be. This debt is my prison, and I'll never be free. Well, I've always been lazy, but I live like a king, eating the best of what others bring in. But I always know that someday I'd find I'd used all my chances and I've been left behind. And now I've got a bad debt that I can't make good. Bad debt, just like I knew that I would. Bad debt, it won't let me be. This debt is my prison, and I'll never be free. I've always been dark. Yeah, I hate the sun. It's often I've wished for a loaded shotgun. But I always know that someday I'd find I'm a coward at heart, and I'm too scared to die. Now I've got bad debt that I can't make good. Bad debt, just like I knew that I would. Bad debt, it won't let me be. This debt is my prison, and I'll never be free. This debt is my prison, and I'll never be free. Thank you so much. Well, that was a song called Bad Debt off of the new album, Combination of Sorrow. And a lot of people think that's about my own personal financial debt, which it's, not saying that isn't real, but that's not. I tried to write the song about a debt that's worse than a financial debt, kind of to put into perspective our concept of money and kind of the moral attachment we make to it. Whereas I think there's a lot worse ways of being in debt than owing money. So anyway, I always like to clarify that just for fun. Although if you feel it's a rallying cry to be heard in your student loans or something, I'm also very fine with that. All right, we're going to do an older song now. This is one that is off of that first album that Bradford mentioned, called Shame. So I'm just going to switch instruments here. One, two, three. Many times I've passed the church and wished that I believed. And many times I've looked around and wished that I could see the power that would safely guide and someday set me free. And I long to know the meaning of triumph and jubilee. Oh, why men write books about faith and healing love? And oh, why men look happily on to others from above? In the name of sweet religion, they will lay their claims on me and ask me to be grateful for triumph and jubilee. They wanna bring me shame. Well, there ain't no shame. You better look away, bow your head and pray, 'cause I won't feel shame. Church and wish that I believed. Thank you. Okay, here's a couple more from the new record. I borrowed this paisley capo from my friend Jacob Grootman about 3 months ago. Whoops. Sorry, Jacob. All right, this one is called She Don't Know What to Sing About Anymore. And I wrote this song after having a kind of a nightmare about volcanic apocalypse. And it has since inspired a lot of debate in the geology world about whether or not it is possible for every volcano on the face of the earth to blow up at the same time. Steve says yes. And I have consulted numerous geologists who happen to be at live shows, and the answers are controversial. People don't agree in the geology community, and apparently this is also a specialty, like a volcanist or something we need. Anyway, not a lot to do with the song, but just some backstory. One, two, three. Messy brown hair and a brother's old jeans, and oversized coat coming apart at the seams. She was building corn castles for worms in the great Midwest. Was selling lemonade on the side of the road. She didn't know what it meant to move slow. She broke every record, aced every test. Yeah, she sang about God in the gospel choir, sang goodnight ladies when her eyes were tired. She was laughing, dancing, feet stomping the floor. But she don't know what to sing about anymore. She grew up smart like the crack of a whip. Well, she could point out the truth when the story didn't stick, and she made her own way through the thickets and underbrush. She finally reached the top. It was the edge of a cliff, but she stared right into that mean abyss. She wasn't scared, she just began to hum. Yeah, she sang about God in the gospel choir, sang goodnight ladies when her eyes were tired. She was laughing, dancing, feet stomping the floor. She don't know what to sing about anymore. She tried to be true, she tried to do right, but that mean old world put up a fight. She tried to sing out, make some joyful sound, that mean old world should get you down. 'Cause every volcano on the face of the earth, it blew up at once like a fiery red curse, and smoke dancing around like she did when she was a girl. And she sang about God in the gospel choir, sang goodnight ladies when her eyes were tired. She was laughing, dancing, feet stomping the floor. But she don't know what to sing about anymore. But she don't Thank you. It's a real behind-the-scenes experience. Okay, well, I'm speaking of behind the scenes in this amazing crew and this amazing band. This is a song about how nobody really does it all by themselves, and it's called Self-Made Man. It takes to make a self-made man. How many people do you think he'll use to do the best he can? But have you watched his eyes when he deals you cards? Do you know the other players in his life? Have you ever seen the bones his closet holds? Do you watch him when he sharpens his knife? How many men do you think it takes to make a self-made man? Do you think you want to sit around and play a part in the corner of a self-made life? Stand by his side patiently, try to be his perfect little wife. Well, you tell him that he's done everything right and that he should never take the blame for the people cast off and trampled on just because they got in his way. How many men do you think it takes to make a self-made man? Well, don't you wonder what he's thinking when he holds your life in the palm of his money-stained hand? Don't you wonder how long before you kick your face down in the place where you thought you used to stand? How many men do you think it takes to make a self-made man? Takes to make a self-made man. How many fingers must he step on to do the best he can? But how far will you run with your head falling back to compete with the Rolling Stone? Tracking down at all the poets that he currently calls home. How many men do you think it takes to make a self-made man? Well, don't you wonder what he's thinking when he holds your life in the palm of his money-stained hand? Don't you wonder how long before you kick your face down in the place where you thought you used to stand? How many men do you think it takes? How many men do you think it takes? How many men do you think it takes? How many men do you think it takes to make a self-made man? You.
All right. Well, our guest this evening on Red Barn Radio is Rachel Baiman. She's here with Steve Hahn, who is playing bass and singing beautifully with her. And then Zach Martin is back there on the drums. Zach, it's good to see you again. Zach has been here on Red Barn Radio before. So I wonder, Rachel, if you might just talk a little bit about Self-Made Man. Maybe you could just... that might be a good starting point for you to sort of share some of the, I don't know, some of your bigger viewpoints about sort of what's going on in our society and how Self-Made Man ties into that.
Sure. Well, a lot of this new record, Combination of Sorrow, is kind of about capitalism and the different kind of institutional structures that hold the majority of us back in, I think the kind of the common aspect of the common nation of sorrow was that I've been thinking a lot about the kind of social and kind of all of the different issues, socio-political, that we fight about amongst ourselves, and they are very important, but also there's kind of this reality that there's a small amount of people at the very top who are kind of taking from the majority of everyone else, and everyone else is just fighting with each other about these other issues, and everyone on top going, hee hee hee. That's kind of the image I get. So that's why I was like, the common nation part is kind of important, because it is about, hardship and everything that we've been through collectively, but it's also about finding those commonalities within that hardship and kind of coming together in order to fight against the larger things that are really a problem, as I see it. Okay, that was a lot, but anyway, that song is...
well, I asked, right?
You did. I don't know, it's a lot to summarize, but that's kind of what a lot of these songs are rooted in for this record. And that song, Self-Made Man, is actually written from kind of a fragment of a song by the great John Hartford, and who's one of my big musical heroes. And when I heard that idea, I just was so... it's not like... It's not hard to say like, there, everyone has help and there's no such thing as a self-made man, but he always has a way of just phrasing it in such a fun and interesting way when he talks about these really important things. So I loved that idea. How many men do you think it takes to make a self-made man? And I really wanted to cover that song, but it sounded quite unfinished to me. The way that he did it, it didn't have any different melodic parts, so it was just one melody and no sort of distinctive hook or chorus or bridge or movement, and it was very short. So I took it upon myself to finish it, and I did get the blessing of his family and the Hartford estate,
right.
and everything. So it's all by the book, and I got the approval and everything. But it was an honor to be able to do that, and I feel so like attached to that song. And it's not a very common Hartford, like a lot of people haven't heard it because it's only on that one album, Radio John, which it's no longer like commercially available. So that's a very long answer to your short question of where that song came from.
No, it's great. No, thanks. I really did. I was curious about, so the self-made man idea might be sort of a myth. I mean, our country, I guess, was built on that idea, right? But
Yeah.
the idea maybe is that the current way things play out is a little bit different from maybe the way it started.
It feels like, I mean, I know there's so many different ways to think of that. I mean, on the one hand, it's like you can think of it just with all the people that have shown you love and compassion and support through your life, and how that can be, those huge stepping stones and the way that you're lifted up or not lifted up. But then there's also obviously the kind of economic way of looking at that, where a lot of times, I mean, there may have been a time in this country where it was easier to be a proclaimed self-made man, but at this point, if you've ever been a musician trying to buy a house, you know that it kind of all depends on who you've got with you in that process.
Yeah, right.
And I think you can really see the difference, especially with people who are trying to make creative careers, and you say, wow, how is X person able to do all of this stuff and build their career without making any money, and this other person can't? And it's because, some people have other support. They're coming from positions where they, and this isn't me pointing fingers. It's just like we're kind of in a place where certain things are only available to people who are wealthy, and that's going to be a sad time for all of the art and music and great things that we lose out of that, entrepreneurship and all these things.
Did your when you were growing up, did your family sort of spark some of these things, this thinking and this view of the society and culture and communities that you lived in? Your mom was your mom a social worker?
Yeah, she works with adults with developmental disabilities.
And what about your dad?
And my dad is a radical economist. So
right.
I would say spark is an understatement. I would say like hammer me over the head with these ideas would be more of the accurate description
Well,
of
yeah, so
my family discussions. But yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting. I mean, living like where I grew up, it was both privileged in certain ways and not privileged in other ways. I mean, on the one hand, I had this very educated family. I was always given music lessons and kind of school support and all this kind of thing and love and security. But then there was times when, you know, my dad was out of work and we didn't have health insurance and I had to go to the clinic so that I could get my physical for soccer practice. And like, we lived in kind of a wealthy neighborhood, but it was also like a very economically diverse neighborhood. And I saw a lot of things and I saw a lot of what I had and a lot of what I didn't have. And I never felt like I was lacking anything, but I definitely was very aware
Yeah, right.
of how things worked. And that only became more extreme when I went to Vanderbilt, you know, on a scholarship to this like crazy prestigious school. And I felt like an alien. I didn't even know where I'd landed. So that was a real shift of perspective. So
Yeah.
I think it's something I tried to kind of brush off as a kid, and then it kind of came around to haunt me later in life.
Was there a time that you remember, like, say, as a teen, when it got a little heavy?
Oh yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
definitely. It's been very heavy, but I think there was a phase where I was like, cool, well, my thing's music and I'm going to play the fiddle. And I kind of went into that because that was something that felt really positive and happy, and it was a little bit of a break from the, you know, problems of the world. But then when I started writing songs, it just all came out. I was like, where did this 'cause you can't escape where you grew up, who you grew up with, and the things that are instilled in you, you know.
Yeah, it's powerful, and you know, it's like no matter what your belief system is, right? Whether you're sort of you know, concerned with creating you know, inclusive economic institutions, or whether you know, your quest is to get to heaven. It's a, you know, it's a hard job, whatever your belief system is, if you have a really strong belief system. And you know, it sounds like you sort of grew up with that. It's not necessarily liberal versus conservative. It's like, you know, folks from a lot of different strong belief systems have challenges and have to sort of work them out.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely true. And if you feel like you're in a place where you kind of feel like there's injustice happening, whatever your belief system is, you know,
Yeah.
it's probably going to come out in your tunes. It's interesting you bring up the religious aspect, though, because I do have a lot of friends who grew up playing and singing in church or whatever, and
Of course.
they have since left that, but then they suddenly make a gospel album because it's like, oh, but that music, it means so much to me, you know. It's like, it's cool. I like to see how that comes out. It's hard to escape the way that those things are part of you,
Yeah.
even if you associate with them quite differently, you know, in those cases.
Well, let's come back to some of that, and let's talk some about violin and your training and your teacher. You had a teacher who, it sounds like you were fond of this person, and that she. Okay,
his name was Mike Kacey. He was a big mentor for me. I started taking violin lessons when I was 4, and it was just because I had an older brother. He was playing the trumpet, and I got, you know, little sister jealousy, and I wanted to play something. And I was so little, so my parents were like, well, you can't really, I mean, what are we going to do with you? So there was this guy around the corner who had some, you know, a cheap violin studio, and it was easy. So like, okay, we'll try this guy. And, you know, it turns out it was a fiddle player from Missouri, of all, you know, in Chicago. So you don't necessarily think that's going to happen. But
No.
he started teaching me fiddle tunes, and I learned some, you know, I learned to read music and stuff, but I definitely didn't have like a strict classical training or anything. And it was quite loose. And my parents had been big kind of folky fans, and they had met at a contra dance in New England. So they really understood fiddle music, even though they didn't play.
Are they native New Englanders, your parents?
My mom is from Massachusetts. My dad is kind of he was born in Israel, and he's kind of traveled all over the place, and he had kind of a crazy upbringing. So it's hard to say he's from anywhere, but he was there at the time in school, in graduate school, and they met at a contra dance, and so as soon as I started playing fiddle, they were both like, ooh, fiddle's cool. We like fiddle. You should do that. And so, you know, they were really into it, and I kind of had a context for it. And yeah, I studied with my teacher Mike until I was 18, until I left. And I started with fiddle, and then he's eventually was like, you should learn some guitar. It'll help your fiddle playing. And then he's like, you should learn. Then I wanted to learn banjo, and so we sang some songs. He just gave me like the foundation.
Did he teach you contest guitar?
No, I can't really play contest guitar, although I enjoy.
That's
I enjoy
quite
playing
something.
with it.
I bet you do.
It's fun.
When you competed in fiddle contests, how old were you when you first did it? Did your first one in Illinois, was it?
Maybe I was like 8 or 9.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't remember, but I did them for a few years. It was more like there was it's Illinois. It's not like a huge hotbed of fiddling. But,
that's all right.
But we had our little community, and where I grew up, there was like nobody my age was playing the fiddle. I went to the farmer's market on Saturdays and I played it, and it was like in a circle, and it was like me and like 10 men over the age of 60. And like I was like 8 years old, and I was just like, "Burr, burr, burr." And that was great because I learned how to play with songs and improvise and stuff, but I had no friends. And it was like when I got older and I went, at school, like this is not something I talked about.
You mean you had no friends to play with? You mean to play music with?
I had no friends. No, I had no friends to play music with.
Yes.
Thank you for clarifying. I still have no friends, actually.
Oh,
so,
no, that's not true.
It's hard.
And so then when you were, do you remember the first time you were like holding a check from a fiddle contest and how proud you were? And
those checks got me through many years. My brother was working at the pizza shop. I was like, ha, ha, ha. My little fiddle contest checks just riding me out through the years. So, yes, I very much remember that.
I don't remember the checks being that big.
Well, you don't need a lot when you're 9 years old.
Yeah, true. That's very fun, though. Was there a time that you recall where you felt like, okay, I don't know if the fiddle contest thing is what I want to do anymore. I mean, when I remember, I went to a lot of fiddle contests myself, not to compete myself, but I went to a lot of them, and it struck me that there were a lot of people who were sort of getting those checks every time, like always winning the awards, but they were sort of like the kids who were taught to, like hit 23 pointers in a row, but don't even know how to dribble. Just these guys who would just go in there and boys and girls who would go in there and memorize these tunes, but didn't know anything about like improv or playing with other people.
It's definitely a one-dimensional way to play music, and I think you can be a phenomenal musician and perform very poorly in a contest, and vice versa. For me, it was more just like I was never really it didn't take up a huge part of my image of self-worth, the contest aspect, it was just something that I did for fun and just to meet other kids that were playing. But I definitely had a moment with fiddle when I was able to go down to, there's a camp outside of Nashville that was run by Mark O'Connor, and when I was a teenager and I was getting really into it, my mom took me down there for a week, and I heard so many, such a broad variety of fiddle styles that I had never heard before. Cape Breton and Irish and old time. I never really heard true old time fiddling. There's like a Midwestern sort of old time style, but it's quite blurred with bluegrass, especially in the circles I was running in, which were not very deeply sourced. It was just like whatever, it's true folk. It was whatever anybody wanted to play. There wasn't like, which source recording did you get that from?
Yes,
these are the circles I deal with now.
Right.
My husband. But
yeah, right.
But it's it was much more chill. But then I heard true old time music. It was, Brittany Haas and Bruce Molsky, and I was just like, wow. What
Casey
is that?
Dreesen.
Stuart Duncan. Those camps, especially at that time, it was insane, the amount of, it was literally the best fiddle player in almost every genre in one place.
Right. So Rachel is talking about the fiddlers who would be on Mount Rushmore. If there was a Mount Rushmore of fiddlers, she's named at least 3 of them who would be up there.
So that blew my mind wide open. And then I wasn't too, I came back and I was like, yeah, maybe I can't play Salad Good in that many ways, but I think it's okay. That's not really. There's bigger fish to fry, I guess. Yeah.
All right. Hey, I'm talking with Rachel Baiman. She's here with with a couple of friends playing some music tonight, and we're so glad to have her here. We'll get back to some more conversation in a little bit, but let's, for now, get back to more music.
All right.
All right, Rachel Baiman.
One, two. Lovers and leavers, it's all that we are. With so many demons that break our own hearts. We're asking for trouble, yeah, we're drinking it in. We're cursing the rubble we're made from all sins. Darling, your love, like the bite of a brown recluse, it's boring a hole in my body, turning me black and blue. Darling, your love, you slip away easy, you're silent and cold, but I just look quiet. Do what I'm told, 'cause there is no middle, only highs, only lows. It's a base, it's a burden, it's a bottle half full. Darling, your love, like a bite of a brown recluse, it's pouring a hole in my I got a hole in my body, I'm turning black and blue, darling. There must be some pill I could take to forget the way that your body, my body meant. Swallow it down like you swallowed me. Like a beast, like a burden, like a bottle half full. There is no middle, has only love. It's a beast, it's a burden, it's a bottle half full. I appreciate y'all clapping for me. It makes me feel less alone. Okay, well, back in 2021, I released an album called Cycles, which had a lot of stories about my family, my grandma, my nephew, my parents. This is one that I wrote about my little sister, who was living in Nashville, which is where I have lived for many, many years. She was living there for a few years. I got very attached to having her there, and she decided that she needed to move out to Colorado to pursue her rock climbing dreams, her rock dreams. And I was like, no, you should stay here and hang out with me some more. So I wrote this song to encourage her to not follow her dreams. But it didn't work. So she's out in Colorado. We just saw her out there. So This is called When You Bloom, Colorado. I'm not very good at wearing colors. You're not very good at holding back. When we go out walking together, folks must think you're with the man in black. Now where you going without me? Why are you going so soon? We've got so much ground to cover. I wanna be there when you bloom. I wanna be there when you bloom. If you're gonna run up the mountain and back to the bottom, you don't have to do it alone. I remember every ugly feeling that you ever gotten. 15 hours to Colorado. I like to let you do the talking for me. You're so much better at that kind of stuff. I just smile and shake hands, nod my head until we've both had enough. Now where you going without me? Why are you going so soon? We've got so much ground to cover. I wanna be there when you bloom. I wanna be there when you bloom. If you're gonna run up the mountain and back to the bottom, you don't have to do it alone. I remember every ugly feeling that you ever gotten. 15 hours to Colorado. You never understood my music. I never understood why you climb walls, but you still come out to see me play. And you know I'll catch you if ever you fall. If you're gonna run up the mountain and back to the bottom, you don't have to do it alone. I remember every ugly feeling that you ever gotten. 15 hours to Colorado. If you're gonna run up the mountain and back to the bottom, you don't have to do it alone. I remember every ugly feeling that you ever gotten. 15 hours to Colorado. All right, well, that was two very peppy songs. The first one wasn't peppy, but, you know, it wasn't a sad political song, so now we have to play a sad political song. All right, this is called Bitter. 1, 2, 3, 2, 1. With the things that remind me of dreams now behind me, conveniently hidden from sight. All the time and the money, it would almost seem funny if I could just sleep through the night. But I'm bitter. I'm bitter as they come. I'm bitter as the cold morning sun. I'm a quitter. It's easy said and done. At the end of the day, I lay down my gun. But I had a vision, some kind of religion. What makes life worth living should pay. But I found no meaning, nothing to believe in. Just men get rich in the shade. Now I'm bitter. I'm bitter as they come. I'm bitter as the cold morning sun. I'm a quitter. It's easy said and done. At the end of the day, I lay down my gun. Being used like a jukebox, a place like a stage prop. I shouldered it all and walked on. And that drum I was beating, it's lost all its meaning. It's as hard as my heart has become. And bitter is as bitter does. Once it was written, the machine had grown smitten. Yeah, the stone said that I would go far. But the dog still needs feeding, and with the ends hardly meeting, I stopped counting on my lucky star.
Well, we've got lots more music and conversation with Rachel Baiman, but I'd like to take a minute first to remind listeners that Red Barn live streams, both tonight's and on any Wednesday, remain available online for you to view at your convenience. Our live video stream is available on the weku.org website, as is our audio stream, compliments of wgad.net in Central New York. Don't miss a single episode of our program, and be sure to tell your friends what it is that you like about listening to Red Barn Radio, about viewing our live stream week to week. Without a major tour, without a manager, and without a major release, a word-of-mouth marketing machine opened lots of doors in a very short time for next week's Red Barn Radio guests. Kindred Valley started with Lacey and Brett McCoy, two musicians and fellow Marshall University students who thought they might be able to write some songs together. It was early fall of 2020, and I'm sure many of you might remember that at that time the pandemic was raging. There wasn't a whole lot else anyone could do except look for ways to spend time. These guys eventually called themselves Kindred Valley. Other players came and went, but eventually the band gelled as a trio with a handful of originals. Excuse me. The three released the songs, but there was essentially no place to go with them. Public performances were essentially outlawed, and so forth and so on. Fast forward a couple years later, which saw the successful completion of a collection of songs mostly written by Lacey, released at the very end of 2022, and growing traction on social media, performances at the Purple Fiddle, Mountain Stage, and now Red Barn Radio has found Kindred Valley a fast-growing fan base who love Kindred Valley's thoughtful writing and the sweet harmonies they put together. We're really glad they can come and be with us. You should be sure to join us, too, for Kindred Valley. That's a wonderful group from Central West Virginia. Red Barn Radio comes to you live on all of our social media platforms, broadcasting from the Arts Place Performance Hall here in the city of Lexington, Kentucky. Let's get back to tonight's Red Barn Radio program with Rachel Baiman.
All right. More songs? All right, great. And he's on the verge of tea, drinking coffee through a straw. She yells a kiss to cover their ear. It's grown up tall. I cover mine for her to see, but left little cracks between the fingers when the news gets sick. I wish I wasn't listening. I wasn't no soul with a raw heart, so eager to see what would tear me apart. I'd soak it all up till I get so low, weighted by the things I could never unknow. And he says, go on, Nate, don't you let that food get cold. But I was frozen in my seat, couldn't do what I was told. Something softened in her eyes, maybe she could recognize the worry of a little kid whose world was suddenly too big. I wasn't no soul with a raw heart, so eager to see what would tear me apart. I'd soak it all up till I get so low, weighted by the things I could never unknow. I wasn't no soul with a raw heart, so eager to see what would tear me apart. I'd soak it all up till I get so low, weighted by the things I could never unknow. I could never unknow. That was called Annie, written with my friend Aaron Ray. Well, we talked a lot about growing up playing old time and bluegrass music and different fiddle things. And this is a song I wrote about how much I love those old music traditions. And how they kind of belong to everybody and also to nobody individually, which appeals to my communist heart. Whoops. Takeaways from this interview: no friends, communist. Okay, this is called Old Songs Never Die. Did you ever think there'd be such a thing? It worth more than a diamond ring. But you can't buy and you can't spend the loving arms of a true friend. Did you ever think there'd be such a thing? Let the money man try to gauge its worth. Pay $1 million for every verse. But you can't claim and you can't own these songs that live inside my soul. Let the money man try to gauge its worth. Old songs never die. They just cry and cry after you to sing them once again. And nursery rhymes and old hymns and magpie's morning call. Sound the wind makes moving through the branches in the fall. How can I explain it if you don't understand? The best of life ain't something you can hold in your two hands. Days get dark and blue, those old songs will be there for you. You turn it up and scream it out. There's still so much joy to be found when the days are getting dark and blue. 'Cause old songs never die. Yeah, they just cry and cry out for you to sing them once. And old songs never die. They just cry and cry out for you to sing them once again. Thank you. Well, if you can believe it, my friend Steve here didn't play any bluegrass or old time before we started playing together.
It's a very traditional bluegrass and old-time instrument, electric bass.
Well, actually, Hot Rise, John Hartford.
Hey, school me.
Actually, there was some old, if you think about it, it's very portable. So there was some old school bluegrass bands that used the electric bass. And yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Great.
We're hoping to be part of that canon. But anyway, I say that because we're about to play a tune written by the aforementioned John Hartford about my hometown neighborhood, Madison, Tennessee. And Steve's about to school us all in bluegrass electric bass. So I just wanted to... Now he's mad. The pressure's on. Never mind. He's going to sound terrible. This is called Madison, Tennessee. I'm not going to do my usual intro because it has a swear word. Okay. Got it.
Had to think about
That
it.
was what I was thinking about, in case you're wondering. 1, 2, 3. But I ain't got $10, just these dirty clothes and the rag I borrowed somewhere to wipe my bloodshot nose. Well, left out, someone punched it, and now I barely see to find my way back to my home in Madison, Tennessee. I haven't got a lot to say, I've got some kind of low, and I can hear those horns honking out on Gallatin Road. I put my finger to a map, who knows where I might be, to find my way back to my home in Madison, Tennessee. Madison's a good old place. Banjo music is your taste. Been living here since '63 in Madison, Tennessee. Left behind the fire hall under a full moon. Your fiddlers and banjo pickers crammed inside a room. They're playing songs made popular in 1923. They're raising the roof in a little white house in Madison, Tennessee. Madison's a good old place. If fiddle music is your taste, been living here since '63 in Madison, Tennessee. Yeah, Madison's a good old place. If country music is your taste, been living here since '63 in Madison, Tennessee.
Steve, if I had a lighter, I'd be holding it up right now. Hey, Steve. So tell us a little bit about you.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and how long have you been playing with Rachel?
I've been playing with Rachel, I think, like 2 years now. We met through a mutual friend of ours who was taking fiddle lessons with Rachel, I think, and then Rachel lost her previous bass player to a solo project that bass player was doing, and she was like, does anybody know a bass player who can sing harmonies? My friend was like, I know one. So that's how we met. About me, I don't know. I'm from the Midwest as well. I'm from Indianapolis. So
You are, all right.
back in my neck of the woods as well. I moved to Nashville like 8 years ago and just been loving it.
So is this a role that you have played in other ensembles? The guy who plays bass and does background vocals or
that
harmony
role.
vocals? Yeah.
Definitely. It's kind of become my wheelhouse, I guess.
Oh, yeah?
You get two for the price of one. So.
What other kind of projects do you do?
Oh man, I play with so many different people, it's hard to count. I play stuff on Broadway in Nashville occasionally. I play with indie, rock artists, and I play sessions sometimes. It's just kind of whatever comes through the door that day. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how long have the two of you been out on the road? And have you been playing also with drummers elsewhere?
So, since this particular album cycle, we have done, I think, about 50 shows since March. We've been hitting it very hard.
Yeah, that's a lot
And
of shows.
Steve has been on all of them, and then we've had certain configurations. We've had some full band shows, some trio shows. Zach here is from Lexington, and we had the great pleasure of playing with him twice before. So I thought, ooh, special treat. Let's get Zach on this show. So we've been kind of having fun doing that a little bit, and I love playing with full band. I love playing duo. I love playing trio. It's really fun to kind of have the chance to make it fresh, each time you change up the configuration. So I've been doing, since we've been kind of going all over, we did a whole tour in the UK. We were in Australia in January. We had a full band with 2 Australian musicians and Steve and I when we were in Australia. And so it's been really awesome. And I have a drummer named Lauren Horrible who I play with a lot, who's in Nashville, and Jacob Gertman usually plays guitar. That's kind of my main full band, but we can't always take them out, the full band, on the road. So it just depends on how big the shows are, and
Yeah. So do you involve other people from your sort of violin and fiddle community? I know you like twin fiddle stuff, and in your arrangements on your albums and whatnot.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of collaborating with my friends Viv and Riley, who are amazing old time adjacent. I mean, they're amazing old time musicians who also have kind of a songwriting project. But Riley's a great fiddle banjo player, and he was a huge part of this most recent album. He played a lot of the banjo and lead guitar, acoustic guitar on the new record, and helped with the pre-production and stuff. So those two live out in Durham, and we've gotten to do some collaborating with them, and we'll continue to do so. We're playing at the Green River Fest up in Massachusetts, and going to be able to do like a collaborative set with them, which is going to be really fun. So.
In Greenfield.
Yes, you know it. Okay.
I do.
Yeah.
My son was born there.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, so
cool.
This album came out on Signature Sounds, which is based in Northampton.
Well, I like hearing you talk, sort of reading some things that you've written about your thought process when you're putting music together and creating music. I found it just sort of fascinating to hear you talk about different ways you have come to approach your music and approach your new recordings, where it seemed in your earlier recording, Shame, for instance, I think what you said is that you approach that sort of looking for this sort of perfect sound, and then, excuse me, I really have a frog going here. But then when as you progressed and you came to where you are now, instead of thinking about that end result, I guess, that you were looking at, you were more interested in the process, more interested in sort of allowing some of the humanity and imperfections and whatnot to kind of come through in the recording. Is that accurately describe maybe the difference between Shame and your current one?
Yeah. So I think with Shame, I mean, that was my first kind of songwriter project that I put out,
Was that a big leap for you?
Yes. I mean, I was writing songs for 10-String Symphony, and we were recording them and performing them, but it was very much about the context. Like, that was such a heady instrumental band that the songs were kind of part of a larger arrangement. It wasn't all about the song. It was about the song and the fiddles and the harmonies and like
You all did covers as well, right?
We did covers, yeah. So it wasn't, and it definitely wasn't about like me having a voice as a songwriter. It was about the band having a voice, which is, as it should be. But when I was writing the songs for Shame, I was more, I wrote a few of them and I thought, this feels like something I really want to say personally, because some of them were so kind of personal to me, and especially very like personal to my experience as a female. And I wanted to just really have a chance to kind of do them on my own, and also have the chance to kind of throw any kind of instrumentation that I wanted to at them, which in 10-String Symphony, it's like the beauty and the challenge of that band is that we always kept it so limited to our duo with fiddles or I was playing a banjo. So it was like, that was what made it cool. So we didn't want to mess with that. But then you really miss the bass sometimes and the drums and the guitars. Right. And so it was fun to, with Andrew, it was such a different way of making an album. And I was really putting that in his hands. I didn't really know much what I was doing. It was my first kind of album of my own, where we were kind of creating in the studio. So I was very much just trying to execute my parts and be there and add to the creativity when I had an idea, and really let him take the reins as a producer, and just try to be very open to anything that would suit the song, you know. So I thought my job was more like, here's the song. And when I took on this new record, you know, I had the role of producer, so it's very different. And I was really thinking a lot about, okay, now I'm comfortable with myself, I'm comfortable with my performances. You know, it's being comfortable is not the same as, you know, not wishing you were better, but it's like you come to a place where you're like, I'm here, this is me, this is how I sound, and that's kind of what you want to record. You don't want to record trying to be something else.
Yes,
you
right.
know? So that was very much like my ethos going into that project. But that being said, as a producer and as like an audio nerd, when you get to the mixing process, I really do want everything to be perfect. But it's different.
Oh.
It's different than I don't know. It's so hard to explain. But there is like this kind of obsessive attention to detail. But it's not because you're trying to achieve a universal idea of perfection. You're just trying to achieve that song sounding exactly the way it should sound. I don't know how to explain that. But
Did it drive you nuts? I mean, did you get to a point where it was driving you crazy and you were starting to feel like, wow, this was fun, and now it's sort of doing this?
You know, I really love everything about the recording process. And if
Okay.
I was a millionaire, it would be a bad thing because I would never stop. I would probably never finish any albums because I would not have a limit of how long I could tweak and work on them. Definitely I do things like record a whole song and then scrap it and then re-record it if it's not right. I'm very like, I love it. I don't get tired of it. I think the people I work with get tired of me. But that, you know, so I try to be respectful of that. But no, I really loved it.
Oh, good. Do you imagine yourself, in 5 years with your hands in more people's projects and
I would love that, yeah.
playing some of that teaching and coaching role for younger players who maybe just sort of need that vibe and need that understanding of that process?
In terms of production, like it's definitely something that I hope to do more of, and I have had the chance to produce a couple records for other people, and it's been just such a absolute blast. I love it so much, and I hope to do more of that. I mean, I guess I don't think of it as coaching necessarily, but I will say that when I hire a producer, it is a really amazing chance to learn how they do something. So it is sort of like the professional's way of getting coaching, I guess.
Sure.
And I always, if you have a budget to make an album, it is nice to use some of that to learn what someone else is doing. So for me, on this record, since I was producing, I hired Tucker Martine to mix it, and I thought that was kind of the area where I could really get a glimpse of how someone who I really admired was working, so I could have the opportunity to learn.
Tell us who Tucker is.
Tucker is a really amazing multi-Grammy award-winning producer and mix engineer out in Portland, Oregon. And he's really been involved in, I mean, he's maybe known for like his work with My Morning Jacket and like some of the more like indie rock bands, but he's also done some really heavy-hitting folk work with like Aoife O'Donovan and like one of my favorite bands, Lau, Scottish band. They're amazing. Everyone should look them up.
Don't know Lau? I will look them up.
A lot of people don't know Lau because the U.S. makes it very hard to tour here, but they are so incredible. Look up an album called Race the Loser, which is produced by Tucker Martine, and you will not be sorry.
Take a note. All right. You know, I really like that you've given yourself permission to thinking or to devote time to thinking and writing. And I'm talking about the Substack that you call the Weekly Croissant that is available, listeners, for you to subscribe to at Rachel's website. Tell live stream audiences a little about what it is that you set out to do when you started it. And then I think it would also be fun for you to give maybe a teaser, tell people it's like a fun story that you should give a little teaser for the cabin rental.
Oh, the
story.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, because that's fun. Just
Awesome.
a little teaser, because we don't want to spoil it, right?
I'm just thrilled that you have been reading the croissant.
Oh,
we had
come
a little
on.
exchange where I was asking, we had some pizza, and I was like, oh, does somebody have some bourbon? Because I need to like clear out this singing voice. And you said, now, Rachel, is that a thick desire or a thin desire? And I was blown away because that was a direct reference to a croissant post that I had made about a writer named Luke Burgess, who's kind of really helped me with my thinking. And I was so amazed that it's crazy when you do things on the internet, you don't realize that people actually read them. And
Yes,
it's
we
exciting.
do. Sometimes we do. tell your little so you tell some fun stories. I mean, you do some really thoughtful stuff, right? Where you talk about a new poet that you've discovered.
Yeah.
You reflect on recording. You reflect on writing, and I love all that. But it's also really wonderful just to hear about the day-to-day experiences that you have that aren't necessarily even associated with
I did
music.
I've been straying. So the mission with the croissant was to kind of do more writing about art and creating art and things that were inspiring me, and trying to be a little bit more focused on things I'm reading, and just basically trying to train my brain to be a little bit more long form. So rather than just like social media short form, to be like, no, like dig into something, think about it, write about it,
Not just the Instagram post.
But sometimes, yeah, exactly. But sometimes, and it is fun because I like being able to share with people also in a more, like thoughtful way than just like a snap. But sometimes I just want to share a story, as you said. So the most recent post was about a trip I did with my husband, who's been on, I think his name's George Jackson. I think
George
he's
Jackson,
been on here.
who has been on Red Barn Radio twice. Yeah, we love George.
We do. We love George.
We do.
And George and I we both had tours out in Colorado. So whenever our tours like intersect, we try to like plan a little trip or something because we spend a lot of time apart. So we try to take advantage of it. And I being, we're two musicians, we're on a budget. So I'm like, what can we do for fun? And
hold on, Rachel, don't tell the story.
Oh,
You have to get people to go and read it.
Okay, never
so
mind.
give them a little teaser. No, just give a little teaser. Give us the teaser. So
okay, here's the teaser. We rented a cabin for $13. That will get you interested. Now, you'll have to see why it was $13 on the weekly croissant.
Yeah, the weekly croissant.
Which
Okay,
is
I want to give
rachelbaiman.substack.com.
That's right. I want to give a teaser too. So there was the let me see. There was the van. There was the van story.
The van story.
So it was like if you've ever broken down in your vehicle, you remember the relief of the tow truck driver arriving.
Yes.
But what happens when the tow truck driver
You've
disappears? Read it at the croissant at Rachel Baiman's website.
Thank you so much for plugging the croissant.
No, it's great stuff.
Means a lot.
It's really great. And you know what? I would love to talk forever. We are so enjoying your music, and that's why we're going to probably end this conversation now so we can get back to you playing some more.
Well, thank you. We're going to
what are you going to play next? Yeah, what's your next song?
We're going to play a song that will not be used on the radio because it is entitled Shit Town.
Oh, heavens. and
Oh, heavens.
All right. Rachel Baiman, folks.
If you're sloping, we're open. Set a roadside sign for a diner in Manville, Wyoming. There's a cowboy cut out on top of a horse, and the wind is the source of his roaming. Well, it feels so good to be so far away, to have all of nothing to say. To stare at the flies that buzz past the tables with the sugar sauce neatly labeled. It's bitter, it's sweet. Pickle preserved like an old jar of jam. A salty old ham left laying around in this old shit town. There's a rock and roll waitress. She's serving up coffee and french fries and pie on a tray. She's a diesel mechanic for heavy machines, but she still works a diner on weekends. Yeah, she's bitter, she's sweet. Pickle preserved like an old jar of jam. A salty old ham left laying around in this old shit town. There's a white-haired old man, dips a sandwich and coleslaw, holds a $10 bill in his hand. But he's headed nowhere, just frozen in time, and the days blow right by him like sand. Yeah, he's bitter, he's sweet, pickle preserved like an old jar of jam. A salty old ham left playing around, he'll never be found with his ear to the ground in this old shit town. That whole song is a true story. I'm not always, I don't think the truth is the most important thing. When it comes to art. Gonna get in a fight. On this Red Barn Radio. But that song's completely true. Okay, this is one off of the Shame album. What?
Never mind.
It's called Wicked Spell.
During the last song, you were like singing in the mics, just like falling down.
It did fall down, you're right. I didn't even notice. I was so in the zone. The banjo's like, it really doesn't appreciate the truth, because not only do the strings have to be in tune, but they all have to agree that they're in tune. And it's like, they don't always agree. It's like, what is the truth? What is in tune? This string doesn't agree with that string. Okay, we fixed it. We're all in agreement. Here we go. Wicked Spell. When I got to Georgia, there was nothing but an empty house. And I wondered what the hell we were doing, driving 500 miles in opposite directions. So I got some liquor and I drank till I was somewhere else. But I'm not closer, I'm far myself. Did you put me under some wicked spell? If you didn't, then I think I may have fell in love with you, honey. I am tired of decisions in this world. Let me drift, let me soak, let me try where the fields are sunny. You won't just say rattle in my attic from an old rocking chair. You won't just perfume on the sweater that I let you wear. Did you put me under some wicked spell? If you didn't, and I think I may have fell in love with you, honey. I am tired of decisions in this world. Let me drift, let me soak, let me try where the fields are sunny.
Oh no. You can say the H word on the radio, right?
Yeah, that's all right.
All right, we just got a couple more, I think. One more now, one more later. Gave it away. Thanks to anyone who's tuning in. Mom?
Are your parents listening?
I'm not sure, but I don't think
Probably.
I informed them of this. But they are very sweet about tuning in, so I always
Nice.
say, Mom? All right, this is called Young Love. This is one off the Cycles album. I wrote this about not necessarily like being young age-wise and being in love, but like a relationship itself being young. I was imagining the phases of a romantic relationship as sort of like a growing child. So you have like your early carefree childhood days, and then you hit your teenage years, and there's like lots of acne and hormones and like everything's horrible, but you know it's like you're gonna get through it. So there's a lovely adult in there somewhere waiting to blossom. So that's the idea behind this song. Well, I know that you're scared to quit, all calm and steady. And I know that you built a wheel, giving something too heavy. Like a burning storm, all unsteady. If I were to cash in my chips, there'd be plenty. Oh, young love is growing up, it's getting older. Oh, young love ain't gonna do what it's told anymore. Oh, young love is acting up, it's throwing us all around. Oh, young love is slashing out, but I'll stand my ground. Well, I know that you plant a tree, giving one seed to bury. And if the power went out, you'd have a light ready. Just a bundle of dust, all spaghetti. And if I were to cash in my chips, it'd just be petty. Oh, young love is growing up, it's getting older. Oh, young love ain't gonna do what it's told anymore. Oh, young love is acting up, it's throwing us all around. Oh, young love is slashing out, but I stand my ground. Young love is growing up, it's getting older. Oh, young love ain't gonna do what it's told anymore. Oh, young love is acting up, it's throwing us all around. Oh, young love is slashing out, but I stand my ground. 'Cause I cannot burn with desire, all calm and steady. And sometimes I might try to lift if something too heavy. I might begin a light, guarding the levee. Soon I cash in your chips, I know you're ready. Thank you. Zach Martin, Steve Hahn.
Wow. Well, there are so many people to thank for our program. First, Rachel and Steve for your beautiful playing and singing this evening, and Zach for backing it all up. Sounds great. We're also grateful for our volunteers and staff who make our production happen so beautifully each and every week. We want to thank all of you for listening to our webcast, watching us on social media, and those listening to us on the network of Red Barn stations and media worldwide. Thanks to WEKU, Red Barn's premier radio partner, Central and Eastern Kentucky's radio news leader. You can listen online at weku.org. It's your chance to hear more great live music from Red Barn Radio and WEKU. That's NPR for Central and Eastern Kentucky. Those of you here in the Central Kentucky area, you got to be sure to check out Red Barn TV. It's our weekly program of music, now on ABC 36 WTVQ. Red Barn Radio comes to you from our home, the Arts Place Performance Hall in downtown Lexington, Kentucky. Our website has updates and further information on our guests in our program. We're on the web at redbarnradio.com. And now, before we close out tonight's program, let's bring back Rachel and Steve and Zach for one more tune.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and big thanks to Steve and Zach for playing with me. And I'm going to leave you with this song, the closer off the new album. It's called Ways of the World. Honey, you're as pure as glass, and I can see I made a crack in the way you like your world to be. So put your troubles all on me. There are things that I have said and done, but things that I am not proud of. You, my dear, have just begun. So let me shield you in my love. Ooh, all the ways of the world. Ooh, all the ways of the world will break your heart. There are places that you will go, lands that I will never know, and you say a million beasts, and your troubles they will never cease. And now you're sleeping in my arms, and nothing here can do you harm. It's the way I'd like your world to be. So put your troubles all on me. Of the world. Ooh, all the ways of the world. Ooh, all the ways of the world will break your heart.
Thank you, Rachel Baiman.
Thank you so much.
Well, that's all for our show for this week. You can see and hear Red Barn Radio worldwide, though, as we stream live on the web on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch, Wednesdays, 7 p.m. Eastern in North America. You can also listen to archive performances on Patreon, Spotify, and iTunes. And remember this, every like, comment, share, and subscribe helps bring roots music Southern style to your neck of the woods. And now from all of us here at Red Barn Radio to all of our friends worldwide, keep working together to be safe and healthy. And until next time, good night from Red Barn Radio.